So here we are, guys. One more Reimagining Wealth Initiative touchdown. Today, with the presence of Lauren. Wow, she's dressing up to get her daughters, if I'm not mistaken. And
You're so right.
yes, and we have Stephen here, and we have Billy, and we have Tim. That it's always, always, always a pleasure to have you, my friend, Tim. And yeah,
So
today,
sorry, is that Billy? Is that
yes,
Yep.
Billy.
Yes.
And
okay? So tell me about Billy. Who's Billy? I know he came 1 minute from like at the end.
yeah, we're going to do that right now. So,
Okay.
Billy, feel free, man, to make your check-in and say where you came from, what planet, what universe, what environments,
Um,
and why are you here with us in RWI Touchdown Initiative?
well,
Go on.
Scottish engineer, based in London. But I mean, if you know more of the background, that says if you know anything about background of Scotland and London, that says all. Um, as to why I'm here, arrived via Sensorica. Conversations with Sensorica, which led to me wandering down here.
Yeah, I don't know if Lauren knows, but Lauren now our touchdowns here, RWI touchdowns, they are officially part of the events of Sensorica. So
Oh, great. Okay.
yes, it's
Yeah.
there in the calendar,
Cool.
the weekly calendar. Yeah. Yes. So thanks, Billy, for that. Now let's hear something from you, Tim, my friend.
Yeah, well, it's days are getting longer, so even though it's still pretty cold here, it's brightening up a little bit, and but we're staying warm up here, and yeah, I guess interested to follow along with. I understand some interesting conversations with Billy and stuff recently that I was participating in, so I enjoyed that before, and don't I missed a few in the recent days or weeks, so I'm not sure where that got to, but curious to follow along with some of that, kind of intersecting, like Billy said, with the work at Sensorica. So yeah, interested to chat about that, and great to see everybody.
Thanks, my friends. Stephen, go, my friend. Go, 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 go.
Yes. Hello. Hi there. I'm just going to.
Hello.
Thanks, Billy. Last week you gave me a really good boost with your contributions. So I'm trying to keep that going. So even just, I've got these lights up now. I've rejigged everything. So the lights in this room, you see up there, I've got them up on the, I moved my thing around. So now, hopefully, like half decent light on my face, even just doing this with the webcam. It's not brilliant, but it was better than when it's just off there. And then I've got the, I can switch over to the Black Magic, and that's the PTZ, and that can zoom in and out. And I've actually got I've got my here. I've got my camera that can come over. I've got a new other board here now. So we've got a place. I've got quite a few different options for.
Steven, didn't you say you had a glass thing?
Yeah, this one here is glass. I've got the magnets for it. This is a glass whiteboard. So I was just talking yesterday with Frank, actually, one of my collaborators, and we were just talking about the come to the edge. So I can talk on here about stuff, and I didn't use it yesterday, but I got some new special pens for writing on here. You know, so I've got I didn't use it, but so this one here is like the idea of the come to the edge. So I'm left-handed, so it'll be I can talk on this board, and talk about the stages of the process. So anyway, that was what we were talking about, how to have different ways of setting things up with different cameras. So, and I've got like, I can come down here in the chart paper. I've also got the camera that can cut over to the other room. So that's what we were talking about before last time. So that room we could do interviews and stuff like that. So that's the one that you were mostly showing me last week, Billy, wasn't it? And then if I was to switch on the light in there, it gives a nice little ambience. So just to give it a bit brighter, so we could do some different conversations. So I had my friend, the wheelchair user, we parked the power wheelchair outside last night in the snow, and then he managed to get himself up the steps, and we were having a good conversation about all of this. So, but let me just double check. I haven't cut over.
Did you have to return your board?
I ended up going out and buying stronger magnets on the glass board. Was it you're talking about?
Okay.
So yeah, sorry, I just realized that in that front room there, I didn't have that camera switched onto that, so you weren't seeing. So I've got this set up. So basically, I was turning that on and off with the. Yeah, so I can bring up that light, and it just gives that reasonably good lighting options, right? And I've got some more. So I've rejigged this a little bit since the last time, and then if I was to switch over to this camera here, then I just showed some of my cross-gen banner, which I've had before, but behind there I've got the three. Is what I'm going to bring down.
Hey, Stephen, when you said glass whiteboard, I thought that meant it was see-through, and that you stand on the side of it and write backwards or something.
It is actually made of glass, but it's not. The backside is more glass-like.
Okay.
So if I let me just. So I've got the three chart papers here, so I can then zoom in on some of the different aspects of the work. So this gives different ways to sort of explore how that could be. So the whiteboard, I've just got one of the Canons on there at the moment, one of the Canon cameras. So if I switch over to number 4, that's now with the whiteboard, the glass whiteboard, and I don't know quite how to set it up yet but it's useful. But it's so this might be one bit that Billy was talking to me about how to light these things, So I'm getting some more stands to think about how to light it, and maybe there's a way that I think there's a way on here that I can change the. There's ways that you can change the brightness on some of these. So that it sort of shows up. I mean, how easily can you see what's on there? Is it fairly okay?
It's okay, but it certainly demands a bit of effort. So the lighting is worth it. The lighting and the framing would be worth it. Yeah.
Yeah, to bring it across or whatever. So that's something I can work on anyway. I mean, because there's a few different considerations about how I do that. Let me just try and pull the lights across. Hold on one sec.
Yeah, if I may, Stephen, make some context for why you're showing all this stage, the cameras and etc. For
Yeah.
who is going to view this and never heard about RWI in their lives.
Yeah.
Well, folks, this year we want to explore how to make conversations in between people that are physically together in a place, and it's not having only one conversation, it's having different conversations with people that are online via this Zoom thing here, and see how we manage to make this type of fusion between the digital space with the physical space, right? So we're going to do this type of exploration this year. At the same time, remember, Louding, the Gather Town thing that we talked about last year, the Gather Town?
Yeah.
We're going to do some explorations there. So RWI is going to have a digital space in Gather Town, this platform, that's Infusion space that Stephen already has. So we're going to do some explorations there too. So we're going to add this dimension, this digital, graphically disposed of dimension to make our conversations, to make our explorations too. But the thing is not will only be related to do conversations weekly, right? We want to spark, we want to ignite, we want to spark new explorations, about what we can call it wealth, in this third decade of the third century, considering all the things that we're already talking about, right? And that's it. This is one of the things. The second thing is that we want to profile this in a very informal way through conversations. Folks, we did that last week with Billy, right? We host Billy, we ask about his life, his projects, what he's been exploring. We already did that. And me, myself, I'm going to start to invite new people as I've been doing during the years, right? In order for us to get to know them, their perspectives about them and about what they can consider wealth for this third decade of the 20th century. So we are literally in this vibe this year, right? And I think that it's going to be nice to have, let's say, not a program, but some of our WI touchdowns dedicated to bullshit with you, Louding. Like you come up with a team, with a thematic, something like that, or we can explore together, like we've been doing since ever, with your explorations, with the project that you're developing. But you can invite people to talk too about it, or your partner in the FIA, feminine intelligence agency. Yes. So that's pretty much it. We want to do something more, go beyond, the setup that we always have here to do our extremely friendly conversations that we do here. So I think that it's going to be really interesting because you see, this is a way to continuously humanize ourselves mutually, and this is a very important trait, dynamics nowadays, right? In this very dehumanized society that we live in, massively dehumanized society that we live in, where everybody's pointing fingers to each other, like from its own, let's say, ideological point of view, worldview or something like that, and. But give a visibility to your exploration, the exploration that I've been doing with Riri, Tim, Billy, and Stefan, and TB, of course, and everybody that comes along. And so that's pretty much it. Oh, he's showing Gather Town. That's going to be very interesting, Stephen, to do.
Yeah, exactly.
We're connected here in Zoom. You're physically there, and we are talking directly through the Gather Town.
Yeah, exactly. Now,
That's
it is
going to
possible to do a screen share off my other computer and you just see it that way. And that might make sense as well. But it could be kind of fun. I think there's a whole thing about this hybrid idea, right? So basically, you're seeing the screen in whatever way. I mean, again, this is where lighting will be another thing because I've got a window behind it and stuff. But it can be kind of fun to like, okay, this is a screen where it's at. This is the screen where you can see the space in Gathertown. And that could even be like on a feed into the camera. And just to give you a sense of you know, where I am with that at the moment. So this one here is that same thing is basically
just to draw what type of configuration we're talking about here. It's like we're talking literally in the gather town space, and at the same time, we are having someone visiting this physical space where Steven is, right? And at the same time, maybe Billy is having a conversation directly with the person that is physically there via one of the cams, right? They're looking at each other, and this type of multidimensional spacing is very interesting for us. We are very complex beings, right? We are mentally, we are always are in various, mental spaces besides our physical stance, where we are physically, right? And but this is going to be very interesting. I'm really enjoying how is this going to develop, right? How is it going to? So yeah. Anything else, Stephen? You want to anyone that you want to aggregate, my friend, in this sense?
I suppose the only thing that I think could be useful is how
Oh, we're going to have the map of Canada. Yeah, that's going to be nice too.
yeah, there you go. Scotland.
Scotland. This is kind of
Yeah.
sweet. Scotland, yes.
So I mean, so some of this stuff we can do just like say through a screen share. So there's I can if I was sharing my screen, I could actually just do that. But because I hadn't, I was feeding a camera feed in, which in some cases wouldn't really make sense. It'd be like, well, just share your screen. But the nice thing is that when you share your screen, it's a bit clunky going between that. So if I have a shared screen on another computer, feeding into the A10 Mini, and then I can just switch that to that camera view, then it still leaves the share screen here for someone else to share a screen because you can jump in. Also, I could share my on that Gathertown. If I use OBS and make a virtual camera, it could be then my character has that video showing, which is nice, a bit like we're doing in Zoom. And the one thing I was going to ask for you guys is, what if we were to think, say, and I think you've got a bit like that, Billy, yourself, but say you had a little switch, even if it's just a switch between two cameras, right? The USB sense is having the ability for us to have a close-up of something, a whiteboard or whatever, and a zoom out, even if there's a bit more, and to then also have a way to link this in maybe with a Miro board and how it goes back. It could be a really nice way of having a kind of hybrid space, where say maybe some of the stuff jumping between chart papers here, but maybe there's a little bit of jumping between a close-up of, often people sometimes have just a camera overhead and then they have the standard camera. Then you can switch to that and say, okay, you've got, I don't know, you want to show something about an item, an object, and you can just literally manipulate that in front of us. Now, that could be really useful. Even your side, Vinny and Tim, even if you don't want to be on camera yourself, maybe there's some artifacts you want to be able to show. So then we have this kind of flexibility. But the idea is that we want it to be, well, you want that requisite variety, but also you want it to be kind of low energy to run. That makes sense. It kind of sort of works. Now, it never quite always works because then you get some funkiness. What are you going to say, Billy? Yeah.
Just from past experience, with dealing with Zoom, with Meet.co, with Discord, and with a whole range of other video conferencing apps. One of the, and this includes GatherTown. One of the situations that does crop up is there's times when I've had my computer either lock up or freeze up or just shut down, and that was purely because different applications, each of the different applications, all clamoring for the resources to the use of the camera and use of the microphone, and because of those conflicts, they ended up falling over. That was like 6 months back. I know that they've done some updates since then, so in some ways the situation's improved. However, that's something to watch for.
Yeah, especially on your
Excuse
side.
me, just going to grab some.
No. I mean, Billy makes a good point. Specifically, like one of the benefits of having this ATEM is that effectively, when I'm like at the moment, I've ended up going back to my webcam. So this is a USB webcam. Now, if I had another USB webcam, you get that kind of funky, it's trying to find the USB, and it sometimes does, sometimes it crashes. But when I just select the Blackmagic, this one, I'm now that all the different cameras are switching in the ATEM, right? They're not switching on the computer. It's just receiving one. And it didn't, and then if I cut to this view, and there was an interview or something, it's not putting any load on the computer, if that makes sense. And the ATEM tends to not really crash. So basically, in theory, what I would like to be able to do is, is to put everything through the ATEM and not be using this USB one at all. And because as soon as I switch back to this, I can't just do it with buttons anymore. I have to go into Zoom, select another camera. But I think you make a good point, and especially over 4K, if you only have two cameras, but this is where it may be worth having a piece of hardware. But it's actually really fiddly to do it with USB mics with hardware. It's harder. Like if you just have this is where actually if you can have a HDMI feeded camera, then you can put it into something like a mixer, and then the mixer outputs the USB. But that's still there are some options out there that might do that. Like if someone's got an iPad, you can put stuff into the iPad, and then out of the iPad comes the signal, and then that's what you get, and then you can switch using the iPad. So there are other solutions that are there, and it's becoming a lot cheaper. And yeah, we don't want to get too caught up in gimmicks, but for me, one of the nice things, and again, it's about being able to get the right sort of space and set it up. And actually, the thing I'm learning, I'll tell you, I'm learning since last week is having a pole, like a unipole. You can even use a pole they use for keeping old people from falling over. Just a pole that you can put between the floor and the ceiling, and you can take up and take down. If you can get one of those, then with arms that clip to that seems to be getting more and more popular because you can put cameras on that, you can put lights on that, and it's quite convenient. But some way to be able to show, because what I would like to be able to do is obviously be able to do talking, but also be able to, and this has been talking about this for ages, stand and like, okay, let's do some spatial stuff. I mean, I've got a chair here. I'd be like, okay, I can sit down, and if I was to do some exercise now where we wanted to ground ourselves as if we're sitting on a chair, well, now you're looking at me sitting on a chair. Now, whether that makes any difference or not, I'm not entirely sure, but but I think it's something nice about that, maybe.
Yeah, definitely, it makes an addition to have a space. It's not just a flat. Yeah, it's definitely you get the room. Yeah.
Not just a headshot. And does it make any difference to see me sitting down? Like, say I took us on a journey into an embodied activity. Do you think it'd be nice to be able to see me sitting here rather than
yes.
this?
Stephen, I know that you're very worried in this first moment, about the framing, the different environments in only one physical space. Oh, that's okay. That's really okay. But Tim here did something very interesting. He gave a bird's eye view of, where Billy is in Scotland, where I am in Rio de Janeiro, where you see this type of.
I'm from Scotland. I'm in London.
Oh yes, forgive me. Scotland, but you're in London. Yes, okay. And this type of bird's eye view, where you see the country or you see the city, the conversation is going on and you're zooming in, and then we switch to Vicky is doing something in his makerspace. I don't know. Imagine if Chibi is 3D printing something in the Sensolicas lab, right? And now we show that happening at the same time, but the conversation is so this type of dynamics that we get out of these flat screens, this flatness, and you give a cushy sensation that you're really floating around, you're really going in, zooming out. That's the type of richnesses that we want to add this year for our explorations here, our conversations here.
That's Vinicius. That's like a whole concept there, like peer-to-peer group tour.
Yeah.
Global peer-to-peer global group tour. And can you imagine really feeling like the experience that you're almost walking as a group, of 5 here into where Stephen is and seeing, and he can show something he's working on, and then up and over, see what Billy's got going on there, and really feel like it's 5 people navigating that trace in an embodied way together. That would be cool.
That would be great.
Just one more thing before I want to hear Billy and if allowed too. It's
that
the thing.
was a long check-in.
Yes.
Pass it to Lauren now. You're gonna pass it to Lauren.
She didn't make the checking. First checking. Yeah. Yes. Very well remembered, Tim. What I'm going to say is that the language factor. This is going to be a challenge for us. If we want not to depend on AI to do that. So how are we going to talk? Because I want to invite Brazilians here, right? I want to invite my Peruvian friend from Peru, from Lima. She speaks Spanish. So this is something that we not necessarily want to deal with that now in this first moment of the exploration, but this is going to be a very interesting dimension for us to explore too. So I don't know if Lauren is going to be able to do her check-in now, but go on.
What was the wish you found tonight?
Oh, I'm intrigued by these multilingual conversations. I'd love to do experiments on that.
What wish did you find tonight?
I didn't. That'd be so cool,
Did you find a star?
especially with AI.
Yeah, and Lauren, you see, Lauren is always on the move, right? Or she's cleaning the house, or she's already, you see, Stephen, she's already the blueprint. Lauren is with her constant moving here, moving there, in the car, in different, places in her house. She's already doing it. we just didn't notice.
He was trying to show us. He was trying to wait until we got the idea. Make us think it was our idea all along.
Yeah, I think we should explore multilingual conversations.
Gather could be good for that actually, because you could have different rooms or you could have different tables where you could go to different, and that ability to self-organize. Audio is a tricky one, right? Because if you do multilingual, then but you could have multilingual with the same visuals. So the nice thing is we could have you don't have to have the same, it doesn't have to be the camera audio, you know? So we could have sort of a audio workflow and a video workflow. And it might be that one of the things is with have you got a professional version of Zoom, haven't you? Or even the enterprise version, Vinicius? If you have that, you can
Yeah,
do some
this
things.
is a pro account. This Zoom here is a pro account.
It's a pro account. So if you get the business or enterprise, we have the business or enterprise versions. It's even better. What you can do is you can actually take. So at the moment we've got 6 feeds on here, right? And at the moment, if I'm talking, I come through as high res, and everyone else goes back to like this smaller res, right? With this, when you have the enterprise, you can have everyone come through as a feed, assuming your computer can take it, or my computer, say my computer can take it, and I've got a fast enough internet. And what you can do then, you can treat each person like a video feed, right? And then that does give some options of then feeding that into a switcher. That can then, or you can just switch between sources that way, or using OBS, Open Broadcast Studio, it can become a way to navigate people's sharing their stuff, right? And it's a case of keeping this relatively simple, right, in some respects, but because it all depends on what the purpose is. I'm very interested in Gather for being able to have different kinds of activities, and if there's a language activity, then that would be great, and that can then be something that gets used by like in Gather Town, like here, if I was to when you're in Gather and you have the actual actually it might be easier just if I have Gather Town and I just do what I would normally do and share it. Oh, can I share or not? Well, without getting too involved, but
Yeah,
if this is something we want to explore, I think this is where we can keep the momentum going, because we had a really good session with yourself and then Billy, and I think there's a lot of stuff here that can be refined. And you know,
I really like the idea, Stephen, that you said a moment ago, and I think you could develop it around the idea of the like a table by language group. So a group of people who want to speak the same language and having breakout rooms, you know, in a Gather Town and then over to a Zoom. And then these days, assuming that the people in the conversation are all up for it, then you could render some kind of translated textual version of the conversation or of the notes. They might, like at an unconference, they might sort of help prepare some bullet points or some notes about their conversation to share. And it's that gets translated to go across to other groups. And then
oh, that's an idea.
Maybe there's a you know a whole group activity at the end, sort of the report out kind of thing that then synthesizes the cross linguistic conversation.
Yeah, you mean also, you know, where Vinny and I, when we really kind of met for the first time, I invited him to this multilingual event that I held, and it was very, very interesting because everyone in the room spoke at least 2 or 3 languages. And so it took, like, I still have the kind of wrap up for it. I did a video of the highlights, and it was very, people just went to one language to another and just kind of like jumped in between them. It was kind of crazy, right?
Yeah, I think
Did you make this video public, Laurie? If you made, I can find
Yeah, I
here.
still have it. I can.
Yeah, it's going to be nice for us to rewatch it, or watch it or rewatch it, right?
Yeah, if you can
And
share
it
that.
was a while, and I did video wrap, so I condensed it into like 10 minutes, and so you can see how it progresses from the beginning to the end, where people, it was like as you go, you can see the progression of something new. You can see emergence in action as people are creating their new multilingual signaling communication thing. So I've thought about this actually, and one thing that we can remember how I showed you what I was doing with the listening module, how I was creating different roles that people can fulfill from listening. We could have like that kind of multilingual role, like say, for example, Vinny, even instead of like, say if someone's speaking Spanish or French, even if you like write it down in if they're speaking in their language and you write it down in that language, for me at least, it's much easier for me to understand kind of what they're saying, even if I see it in another language, if I see it written down. So we can have like, we can also, one thing I think would facilitate if we had like easy English or easy Spanish or easy Portuguese to help facilitate people who can kind of do it in another language but aren't 100%. We can have people like help with visuals and writing things down as people are talking, and using Chat GPT to speak in another language, etc.
That idea, Lauren, of a translator that simplifies the reading level for a language learner is brilliant. I don't know. I mean, someone must, that's just incredible. Like, to offer a foothold, to start learning, so that even if a group was of sophisticated, fluent language speakers was speaking the most sophisticated language in, speech in that language, that nevertheless, for me, I could see a textual rendering that was at a reading level that got me the ideas of what they were saying, but I could actually read that Spanish, whereas I would never be able to read the Spanish that they were actually speaking.
Right, yes.
That's a great idea for
And
language.
like a lot of Vinny's
but you think, Lauren, that we could do that organically, not in the sense that, oh, you're going to energize this role this next week on the or next touchdown. Do you imagine that we could do that more organically, in the sense that people show up, oh, I want to do this, I want to have this experience?
Yeah, I mean, so the reason that I do the roles is not to restrict people, but the reason I do the roles, it's not just to make rules, but the more marginalized people are, or the more they feel like they're on the margins or on the outside, the more that you actually have to give them permission to do certain things. So the roles that I make are mainly to give people permission to be creative and to insert themselves into a conversation, because they're just doing their role, and so they're just following the instructions. And so if you don't have these permissions, the people who take over are the people who are generally like feel the most kind of entitled to speak and stuff like that. So the reason we can do it more organically, that's just the reason that I do those roles, why I make them official.
Yeah, because you see, folks, what I'm seeing here is you see an invitation to get all of us, not only us here, but any human being, out of this flat world that we created through screens, right? Through little screens, medium screens, great screens, that it seems that it doesn't have depth, it doesn't have texture, it doesn't have nothing. It's just a pixelated image with a voice, and I'm just gesticulating something here. And
we've been talking about this for a while, and remember how we had the conversation of Brazilian party? Well, you can do a Brazilian party if you try to do it in Germany and you think, oh, okay, so a Brazilian party, we don't have these strict rules, but then you don't have any rules in Germany. You try to do your Brazilian party and it doesn't work out the same because Germans have internal rules. So in order to have that relaxed thing in Germany, you're going to have to be like, okay, there's a rule that no one can tell you when you're supposed to show up. So everyone has to show up just whenever the fuck they want to. And that will be your rule. That's how you have to make it a Brazilian party in Germany.
And I remember working with German engineers who had a very different set of social rules to the ones that are used in Scotland or the ones that are used in England. There's times when there were some internal communication problems that were caused purely by the fact that the sort of social, the types of social interactions that you'd get in Scotland or you'd get in England were very different from the types of social interactions that you'd get in Germany. There's times when it was, there's times when there was a definite, instead of communications going like that, it was like that because we were just because of the unspoken social rules that were part of the cultural background. That was sort of working out how to integrate that properly was occasionally problematic. But once you'd actually, it gave us something to laugh about afterwards. But it was at the time, it was initial like, why are these people behaving like this? And they're coming from both sides.
Yeah.
Billy, just a side question here. I feel when I look to your feed that I'm spying on you. Like it has something here. It's like I'm looking through a window. Do you feel that, Stefan or Tim? Yes, yes, we're looking like we're spying on you. I'm looking through the window and there's Billy there. It's a very good sensation. He froze.
No, it's just because my you can just with one camera system is set up so it's sitting under a shelf, which is why you see that sort of this piece of wood there.
But it's very interesting. I don't know if you agree with me, Stefan, or Tim, or Lauren, but it's very interesting to have this perspective, like we're looking at the intimacy of Billy.
Just in terms of having other video feeds, there was one of the systems that we had set up at the Hackspace was a camera-based microscope that you could connect via USB. And the idea being that you would have that, that would be sitting there so people could look at a whole range of very small things, but do it in a shared manner via the video feeds. And it was adding that in would be it was interesting. It was great because we could sit there and sort of, oh, look at this, and sitting there looking at lumps of metal, you can see how the shape of the crystalline structures and the internal structures of the metal. At the same time, it was like, well, what's it? We were sitting there doing that, while we were in different places.
Yeah, that's very interesting experience. Just one thing I would think that could be kind of interesting is we do I think if there's some way where people are doing, because you could just do breakout rooms otherwise, and it's a separate thing. But if there's a sense that you want to bring people back together and that they're working on some commonality, right? So, I mean, you can in some ways say different languages also could be different fields of practice. Engineers and artists could be speaking another language in a ontological way, But one thing that could be kind of cool, we do this relationship understanding trust for the cross-gen. So if people to map out the relationships, but they were to do that in their own language, and based on this kind of setup, or this basically it's a scenario or a situational analysis, but just starting with, well, who are we talking about here, and what's the relationship, and what's the cluster in this context? And they say, okay, what's our understanding of that? Which is, like you say, it's different when they've gone out to the water cooler and they're having a cup of tea to when they're in the middle of a project, right? So, and then you say, okay, what's the trust on that? And it might well be that that processing of the cross-gen, which is designed to work across languages because it's broken down simple enough. But it might well be that when it goes to the understanding, they could go off to their own table, but we could come back to either they do their own artifact and they get synthesized, or they're all looking at the same mirror board, but one table but and I don't know, again, different ways it could work. They're either all looking at the same mirror board, but they're talking about it in Spanish or French or German. Could be, then you've got this kind of cohesion of synthesis. Can be really quite useful.
Yeah, but Stephen, you see, we're still talking here about doing something. If we look through the lenses of patterns, right? We're still doing a centralized pattern, looking to a decentralized thing that is happening, right? Because the audio feed is only one. We don't have different audio feeds. Like I want to deep dive in the conversation that your guest is having in that room there. I don't have a separate audio feed to go there. I'm only hearing one audio feed coming from everybody, right? Oh, that means that in a sense, if I want to deep dive in the specific conversation that is happening in your physical space in that room, I should have another Zooms interconnected, a collection of another Zoom. It doesn't necessarily need to be Zoom. It can be Meet or whatever. But I would need another feed. I would need to transport myself, hyperlink to that conversation that is happening there. In order, you see, I'm trying to do what the breakout rooms do in only one Zoom feed, right?
Exactly. But you can do that in Gather. See, that's the beauty thing in Gather. Like that's what, I was just showing you the Gather with the different tables here in the Gather town.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah, that's the beauty of Gather. So if I was to go to is it showing me here?
So if I enter into a room in the Gather towns, in any space, I'm going to be able to isolate. It's going to be a unique.
Well, even more, actually, more than that. Are you seeing my screen share at the moment? You see the screen share, right?
Yes.
Right. So if you see the screen there, I've got. I'm
near this. Can you throw the link in, and we could go in there at the same time as we're here, or no?
Yeah.
Might take the mic audio.
No, yeah, it doesn't actually necessarily, not with Zoom anyway. It does with some things, but it's
well, one of the things that I remember with GatherTown when one friend was experimenting with the GatherTown instance, the idea is that where you've got the say the five different tables that you've got table spaces that you've got at the bottom. Whenever you were wandering into one of the tables, when you're the notional character that was moving around, whenever they're wandering into the different table spaces, you've got a different audio feed. So that when
you can do that. Yeah.
Yep. And it's so they're what's it? If you want to take part in a conversation, you've just basically got to walk into physical proximity, the simulated physical proximity.
Yeah, you can. I mean, when you do that, you're essentially what you're doing is I'm trying to find the chat on here and I can't find it. What you're doing when you do that, let me stop sharing. It might let me do this. Is I'll put this in the chat and then you can join me if you so wish. But I think the key thing is that if I just show you the thing with how it works mechanically from a viewer, like in this kind of scenario here, if I have GatherTown open on this screen and I share the basically the normal one would be you see Gather here, don't you, at the moment? You see me walking around? Is that right? You see that? So if I'm here, I'm outside of that zone. As soon as I go into this area, you see it changes, it makes it darker around me. I'm in a talk space. There's a talk space here, and I have a document in there actually, which is actually a language document for kids to practice their speech. So you could do some from the University of Florida Language Institute. So
Hey,
you can
Steve, is it necessary to log in, or is there like a public link or more of a link that we don't need to see?
you should just you normally you might you can go in as a guest. It might be that you need to just register yourself with an email just so that it knows who you are. Otherwise, anyone can get in. But there's no password on this site, as far as I know. If there is, it's Seeds, SEEDS. I can't remember if this one's got a password on it to stop people. Yeah, but like you say, you see at the moment, it's got different tables, right? So you could be, this is the French table. This could be, and only people on because I've set it with it's the way Gather works, right? So the settings on this would be in the map maker. Are you seeing the map maker now? You see this? This area is designated with certain share screens. I mean, this is how it works with the tiles. So this is share number 15. This is share number 14. This is share number 13. This is share number 12. This is the crossword one, 9, 8. This is the bar. So only people in that area can hear each other, right? And you can do that. It's just like a Zoom room, right? You go to the Zoom room and you can only hear people in your Zoom room. Now, the question we might want to have is then how do you pull that together so that people who are in number 12 speaking French and number 13 speaking Spanish and another one that might be the main area, how do they, how does that work? You know, how do we maybe consolidate that? Now, it could be that we've all logged into the same Miro board and we're talking about that and we all come back to share in the same idea, right? Are you seeing this with the squares? Are you seeing the sort of version of this with yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's kind of how it works. So, and then you can change that. So there's different rooms have got different configurations of these areas, right? There's a cafe here. This one's like a place where you can sit by the fire. So there's all different ways we can do it. But essentially speaking, that could be something that works. The question then is that synthesis bit. So you can see it. Because at the moment, when like Billy was saying, when someone goes to this table, it just means that you just see the video and the audio of whoever's in there, right? And there's a couple of ways you can, but if you actually can play with the camera or the feed of one of the people, then that person could maybe have another computer that's in one of the other rooms. So rather than having to go to the other room and join their conversation, you could say, okay, I'm going to just switch to my other computer's feed and just we'll I mean, this is all about privacy and stuff like that. They don't allow you to do it because you wouldn't know who's sneaking in on your conversation. But if you were doing it and it was an agreed thing, then you could potentially have someone. It gets a bit more complicated with the audio, right? It might be easier with visual, what they're up to or something. But otherwise, you just come and all meet together and just talk about it, you know, which is probably in a way what would normally happen. But this ability to bring in their feeds or bring in maybe their current working notes and just see how they're doing, and maybe those notes are translated alongside the original, could be kind of useful because then, I don't know, without making more unnecessary complexity, because it's the thing
Yeah.
yeah.
Stephen, we already our finish line for today's RWI touchdown,
Yeah.
my friends.
Yeah.
I think that was a very, very good conversation that we have today here. I think that we better render a lot of things that we have been talking from the previous weeks. I'm going to suggest that next week we do our first RWI touchdown in the Gather Town, in the Infusion Lab Gather Town space, right? But for that, you're going to need to be also not it's because it's you, right? You have the experience. I don't have the experience in Gather Town. I don't think that everybody here, you are the most qualified to talk about that experience. So you need to go in the Sensoricus event Sensoricus channel and set up people to say, hey, our next touchdown is going to be in the future RWI touchdown in Gathertown, right? So who is up to that, right? And set it up to people to be there because we can't do it like in the day, right? Oh, we're here in Gathertown. People are not going to go there, right? And so
So,
this is this is my appreciation for today's conversation and my checkout. And go on, Billy. Feel comfortable to do yours too.
what's it? After dealing with audio systems and computer systems and a whole range of other stuff, do some tests. Do some tests and small scale tests before you do the public launch. But hey, perpetual. What's his name? Rather than being in perpetual beta.
That's a good point. Actually, Tim, would you be maybe what would work on that is if maybe me and Tim, if it's possible, we could be together here and then we can move stuff around so that we can cut between stuff. So it's not, in some ways, I think we can have some shots where there's two in the room and stuff. So go on.
Can I say something?
Yeah, go on.
Okay.
Go on.
Yeah, I can talk.
Go for it.
Okay. You said go on. Okay. I have a few suggestions actually, maybe two or three. One, I think it would be really cool, Vinny, if you could invite someone with like a guitar or something. I think if we could make like a multilingual song that we could sing at the beginning, that would be really cool. And also, if we could start a social norm, like a tradition of someone um like saying something in another language and without caring if they said it really well. Like say for example, we have our, company from Peru, we could, you know, say something in Spanish that wasn't, perfect Spanish, and you want to like set the bar low so that if someone is like the only Spanish speaker in the room or something, um the only people who really feel comfortable are talking if you speak another language and you're with people who are native speakers, and everyone is speaking really well, it's really intimidating. So maybe we could do stuff to lower the rate of which people are intimidated. Because if you set the bar low and say, oh, this is a place we don't care if you're super articulate and you make mistakes. So if you already make that mistake, that's just cleared out of the way. And then people are like, oh, this is a place where I can just say something. No one cares if I don't speak the language really well. So those kind of things. And if like, someone is greeted in their language or something when they come in, that could be like a nice tradition as well. And now we have like Chat GPT, and we could speak in other languages and just like make points in other languages and say little things. And if it's not like the best accent or whatever, who cares? So you have to actually like, go we have to go part way over there. And if you have multilingual rooms, instead of just like having like Spanish and French, maybe we can make them like easy language rooms. So it's easy Spanish. So, like the English speakers can go in there and speak crappy Spanish. And maybe some Spanglish. Maybe like you
That's very
allow,
nice. That's very nice, Lauren. That's very, very nice. Easy language. Love it.
yeah. I think
It's
that would
better
make
than
it more fun. Like it's like,
it's
and I think that would actually like put into practice like making mistake zones where you actually kind of intentionally make mistakes, so people are like, oh, this is that kind of place where I can once you see
well,
that, then it becomes more creative.
don't you want to pair with Stephen to set up this gather town space in that sense, easy language zone, no bullshit here. And I don't know. It would be nice because your ideas are fantastic.
Okay, if we do that, will you go along with the weird shit that we come up with?
Of course, it's going to become a Brazilian party.
Okay. So what I might find is like a beat or something, like I might find some music and then we can like and make up a song, and you have to do it though. You have to like do weird shit and to actually like test whether, and then we can like send out a survey at the end or something like, how did this change the atmosphere, and see if it actually worked. But
Okay.
if we have people who will actually like are flexible and can do stuff, then Stephen and I can just like roll on ahead and do all kinds of stuff, I'm sure.
I'm in. I'm in. Let's do this.
Okay,
Let's do it.
cool. Stephen and I, we're in touch by WhatsApp now, so we can just chat.
Yeah, let's have a chat and because we can use the room that I've got the room here actually, the room that we did before where we had the stuff from the the meeting room. But yeah, let's keep it. We probably need to have for me maybe something around something that can be tangible and like maybe like people wanting to sing and help connect across age and culture would help give something that's tangible, right? Then okay, now I've got a purpose for why we're meeting. It could be age and culture in different workplaces. It could be age and culture.
Stephen.
Yeah.
Billy has to go and Tim too. So let's open space for them too.
Okay, we'll talk. Okay, no worries. Okay. All right, cheers.
Bye.
All right, take care.
See you guys. Thanks.
Yeah.
Hey, Tim.
That's just a little joke. Because
everybody got out. Tim is still here.
Yeah, because they're speaking all the languages. That was a joke.
Yeah, Esperanto.
Yeah.
That's a good suggestion.
They don't want to commit to any one language. So that's a joke.
I just don't want to go down a rabbit hole. That's the only thing. I'm just wary of that. I want to keep it. Let's keep it.
Well,
what's the name?
We can
What's
do
the
that.
name of the Vulcan language from Star Trek?
Yeah, Kapla. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, and if we do go down the rabbit hole, though, Vinicius knows well a group of people who can help us strap a little head cap on that rabbit, and we can speak rabbit in that room.
Yeah.
Maybe even negotiate a settlement with the rabbit people.
You're right.
Yeah.
I'm going to invite other people on Earth species.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. There you go. We're surrounding the situation here.
Yeah.
I gotta run, guys, but it was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a very, very nice RWI touchdown, Stephen, my friend. And
yeah,
Tim,
we're making progress. We're making progress.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yes, we're going to do something different this year. We're starting to do it right now, right? And that's very fun and exciting.
Yeah, right on.
Yes.
Okay, ciao. See you guys. Have a great
All right.
day.
Okay,
Bye
cheers.
bye,
Take care.
guys.
Okay, bye, bye.